we can stop debating whether or not what Elon Musk did behind the presidential podium at Donald Trump's inauguration celebration in the Capital One Arena here in Washington, D.C. We can kind of dispense with whether or not it was a Nazi salute. It's self-evident. Let me put it in terms like this. Brittany Page posted this on Blue Sky. She said, "We don't need to continue arguing about the Nazi salute after Elon appeared at a campaign event for Germany's far-right AfD, where he complained that multiculturalism dilutes everything. At this point, the salute discourse is a distraction from his demonstrated pattern of promoting racism and chaos." She's right. The debate and conversation does still continue, though. Last night on CNN, Scott Jennings was on, and is the most arrogant, eye-rolling, just display of dipshittery from anybody on CNN. He's become the worst, just unearned arrogance from this hayseed rube, Scott Jennings. And he is mixing it up with Catherine Rampell, to which she, when he's defending the salute as not a Nazi salute, "Oh, how dare you, that's not a Nazi salute. Oh, he's given his heart." The same idiotic arguments coming from Scott Jennings. And she implores him, well, if there's no problem with what he did, if it wasn't a Nazi salute, do it right now. Flash one up, Scotty. Let's see it. You will not be surprised he does not do it, but he also makes an insane claim that we're going to talk about after the clip. Watch this.
The first time that Elon Musk decides to declare that globalist Jews are responsible for the great replacement of brown people into the United States, maybe it was a misunderstanding, you know? The second time he said that Jews are pushing hatred against white people, that's a quote, you know, that was a little iffy. By the second Sieg Heil, I think he kind of loses the benefit of the doubt to be not accused of playing footsie with these Nazis. I'm not saying he's a Nazi. I'm saying the Nazis think he's a Nazi, which they very clearly did at this event. And these words were not said in a vacuum. As you pointed out, the leaders of AfD have embraced, in many cases, the Nazi heritage. They have wanted to take down the Holocaust Memorial in Berlin, saying it is inappropriate to recognize this horrific chapter in German history. And I just think it's horrific. I don't understand why this guy keeps getting the benefit of the doubt, whether or not he believes this stuff personally.
You didn't even mention the Nazi jokes he was making on Twitter. That actually got
he's been
ADL
given so many chances
about it.
Yeah.
I was hearing a lot of sighing, Scott. What's the deal?
Yeah, I mean, we've moved on from Trump derangement syndrome to Elon derangement syndrome.
Oh, I'm sorry. Do you want to defend his saying
the
Germans get to...
Let me let him finish, Catherine.
I love this game we play where you talk for 2 minutes, I talk for 3 seconds,
ahead,
and you
Scott.
freak out. So he has a long record of supporting the Jewish people, number one. Number two, anybody who is asserting this thing he did on the stage the other day was a Sieg Heil, which I just heard you say, you know, lawyer up maybe, because absolute ridiculous thing to say. Under no circumstances.
The Nazis in Germany thought it was a Sieg Heil.
Under no
circumstances
was he doing anything other than expressing enthusiastically.
Why don't you do it on TV right now?
His appreciation.
Why don't you do it on TV right now if you think it's so?
Number three. Number three. I think it is fully appropriate, and I, of course, have been the strongest supporter of the Jewish people on this network for over a year, since October the 7th.
Is that true?
To remember the Holocaust and to remember the atrocities committed against the Jewish people.
If it's no big deal, Scott, throw it up. Throw it up, brother. No big deal, right? Your fear was palpable. Your being owned was entertaining. And your insane claim, I want to get the quote right because it's just such a moron chef's kiss, is I, of course, he qualifies, I, of course, have been the strongest supporter of the Jewish people on this network for over a year to remember the Holocaust and remember the atrocities committed against the Jewish people. Scott Jennings, evangelical dipshit, has been the strongest, of course, he says, the strongest supporter of the Jewish people on this network. You're speaking derisively against a Jew when you say this, Scott Jennings. But setting Catherine Rampell apart, setting her aside, how about Wolf Blitzer? Have you been a stronger supporter of the Jewish people, remembering the Holocaust that you bring into the conversation for no reason to defend someone who threw up a Nazi salute? Are you forgetting Wolf Blitzer? Whose parents are Holocaust survivors, whose relatives didn't make it? I want to read from this. This is just a brief biography of Wolf Blitzer, who apparently is number 2 in supporting the Jewish people and remembering the Holocaust, second only to Scott Jennings. Wolf Blitzer's parents were Polish Jewish refugees from German-occupied Poland who survived the Nazi concentration camps. His grandparents, 2 uncles, and 2 aunts on his father's side were all murdered in Auschwitz. His maternal grandparents were rounded up in Poland and sent to a labor camp to make ammunition for the German war effort, and later died of typhoid fever. Scott's doing the thing here that Donald Trump does, which is nobody knows better than me. Nobody's a bigger friend. Nobody knows better. When it's demonstrably false. Scott Jennings is just like so many evangelical Christian nationalist dipshits who use Israel just like they use the Constitution, as a prop, as a means to an end. As long as they can further their white supremacy and using their religion and their superstitions about rapture or the Armageddon and the end times and bringing Jesus back, and these certain things have to happen, things that have been completely invented out of whole cloth during the late 19th century and early 20th century. Christianity hasn't involved belief in the rapture until very recently. It's not an ancient belief. And Christians use it in their support for the Jews. Look, I grew up in a household like this, with parents who have no particular affinity for protecting actual Jews, but they want that Holocaust, or they want that Armageddon, Megiddo. They want that rapture, and all these things need to happen for Jesus to come back. And then every knee shall bow and every tongue confess that Jesus Christ is Lord, including those evil Jews who killed Jesus. Scott Jennings is one of these dipshits, making outrageous claims that he stands alone on an island to support the Jewish people on CNN. Why will no one give me the credit for being chief friend to the Jews on CNN? As he defends genocide in Gaza. Disgusting position. As he defends genocide in Gaza and a man throwing up Nazi salutes in front of the presidential podium at the inauguration, who's also defending the neo-Nazi party in Germany. Blech. It's just gross. I invite you to the conversation. You can comment below. You can call the voicemail line 714-576-4054. And of course, as always, you can email me daily@dollemore.com. Please consider supporting independent media. If this is your outlet of choice, I would appreciate your support very much. Click the join button below. For $2 a month, you can become a channel member, or you can go over to patreon.com/IDoubtIt podcast. There's also Dollemore.com, where you can link to our individual shows, mine and Brittany Page's, and our podcast, I Doubt It. There's also a bunch of merch there that you can check out, which also supports the show. Follow me on social media. I'm at Dollemore. I'd love to see you there. And I will see you next time. Until then, be genuine and take care of one another.